Oh my glob. Mini meters. Botrix has successfully joined. Hello, Diggin' Boss. Sorry I'm like an hour late. Sometimes we overshoot the naps we take, and it's a little annoying. Because I don't get to start when I want to. But I want to start, like, you know, all energized and whatnot, right? You know, be active for it. Who is he? Hi, Yoha. What's up, Sussy Posse? Welcome to the stream. Nixon's up in this bitch. I have some tea with me. Some tea. Right, now, look, it's breakdown time. Don't, you call me that again, I'm just gonna ban you from the channel. Like, I'm dead serious. Hello, are you talking to me? I know you're not talking to me. It's survival of the fittest. I will do what I have to do to survive. Awesome. Sorry if I offended to you. Okay. You've been here for too long. Stop being a fucking idiot. You should know these things by now. It shouldn't be a thing you have to remember. It is just who I am. Anyway, good start. Hope you're all doing well. It's breakdown time, and this might take like 2 hours. I wanted to take 1 hour because then I could end only 30 minutes after I'd like expect to. You know, I do like ending at like 1:30 or like 2 the latest because sleep is important and waking up miserable is never fun. But I can only stream this late. So like, you know, I gotta make the most of it. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes we take a little nap and it doesn't work out the way we want to. We wake up a little, like an hour later than we want to. And that's the way things go. But we work around them and, you know, we do what we can. Two Mouse Party's back. Welcome. Now, I will say, Better TTV is an extension. And I use it on this stream for emotes and stuff because I think they're fun. And if you want to get on the action, you can just install the extension and, you know, set it to live chat by default and like give yourself just like a button that lets you see all the emotes for this channel. It's the whole thing. Additionally, on the site itself, there's a list of popular emotes. You can use most of them up until like Music Plus or something. Pretty sure that's where the cutoff is. I had this open because I wanted to see if a particular widget that I had actually like saved. If I were really real, I'm pretty sure it did. I'm just gonna hope it did. There's gonna be some text, some cheeky little text that pops in from the bottom of the screen, and you know, it'll be a line of dialogue that I won't want to have to say in the middle of the stream because it would like ruin the flow, but it'll be there. So we're doing Angel, you know. I wanted it to just be like, oh, Angel platform, but I think that's too on the nose, so just Angel was the way I would title the song. Because it sounds nice. I will say there's a little bit of backstory going into this one. I made this out of pure jealousy and spite out of the success of other people. I think I was just kind of pissed that more people knew about Nina Jirachi and ain't nobody know about Young Fembread. And so I made the intro basically a ripoff of the one song like a lot of people know her for. Which is why the bass sounds like that. I just wanted to see if I could do that with some like FL default drums to like create an actual sort of like dancey groove, like something that I wouldn't, just a little more effort than I normally put in anyway. And then it kind of like led me down this whole path of, you know, super instrumental, and then like it builds up for like a year, and then the actual drop starts, but it's still a fake out like 2 minutes in. Like it's a feature length film, and It sucks because it has like the least amount of music out of all the songs. I say sucks, but like it's kind of just the way my brain decided to perceive the task in hand, because there's only this amount of like it's drop and very intense stuff, and this is all like build up to that, and then this is essentially just a really long outro that I made when I was bored. And I could have ended the song like 8 bars earlier, but like I didn't, because I didn't want to for some reason. Well, let's go ahead and give this a gander. I accidentally moved something. A refresher from fucking whatever. I'll just play through the whole thing, and I have to compress it all again. Although you won't be able to see all of it, just because of the sheer amount of drums that I used. That's the category that takes up the most space. A lot of variety in sound here. Let me do this. Let me do this. Cool. All right. Yeah, fucking bullshit at the end. Right. This was a fun one to make, I remember. Except for this, I was definitely a little lazier just because I wanted to finish the damn thing, and like I couldn't really think of anything. But we'll get there. Left to right, top down. That's how we're gonna do this. And let me just get all these tracks open. We can start picking this apart. Starting with the start, right? So these drums, I guess, will just kind of, go through all of it. I just remember wanting to make a groove that was a little try-hardy. And I think I achieved that because Jesus Christ, that is a long fucking crash. It's a lot of just layers on layers on layers, like I use the fucking groove kick. These are all, for the most part, these are all default sounds except for like the night. No, I think even this you can find. Yeah, these are all default sounds. And like, if I left that kick as is, it'd be fucking unbearable. So I did have to do some transient processing. My neighborhood dog is screaming right down the street. Tell it to shut up. See if you can do something about that. Tame the tail and also all the subs. So the kick is nowhere near as long, like, feeling, which is good. You know, a little tambourine sample. Very, very sort of simple, just a lot of like syncopation with the other elements. Like I had this like these, I think these are barely being leveled or like EQ'd or anything, just kind of, slapped on there. Speed house. Very simple stuff. I did more leveling like in the actual channel volume clips themselves than like on the mixer for this section. And everything just kind of sits nicely in its place, serves its purpose. And yeah, it's just a nice sort of speed housey fucking drum groove, pretty simple. I know that for the intro and for the dembo section at the ends, I'm using a different sidechain than like the drops. So I have two LFO tools here, and the sidechain I'm using for the intro is a lot softer than the one for the drops, which is basically just, almost a full right angle. And I honestly would make it a full right angle because the smoothing would prevent it from popping anyway. But like, whatever. Generally, I'm just maxing out the curve there. And, MIDI triggered by a MIDI note is how these things are starting. Some nerd shit, really. It's useful though, at least I finds. Right, and then here we come down to what got this whole project started, really. Just random, like, I just wanted to see if I could make some sort of bass layer that sounded remotely like this at all. And this was achieved by... I didn't feel like it was that hard to do, necessarily. Like, I take away the LFO tool and there's barely any extra processing. So I just know that it's 2 oscillators. Okay, now I think I'm late a little bit. With the random turn all the way down, with the goal of being mono. Some noise. And that's basically the whole sound, just touching up on top of that, you know, German low pass, a lot of drive, which is where that most of the crunch comes from. And then I have a notch, ever so slightly changing the character of the sounds, and it's going through a tube. Separated title. And then this is going through a chorus with the rate turned all the way down and the delays. I'm pretty sure they're all the way down, or maybe like barely turned up, one of them. And I'm just adjusting the depth as well as changing this to high pass so that it doesn't really affect the low ends. And it is being maximized in stereo here. Just turn the stereo up. I'm pretty sure in mono it's like fine. Yeah, it's nice and loud anyway. So the stereo isn't really like... It's not like fake loudness, is what I like to call stereo sometimes. It serves its purpose. And then just some extra processing, you know, I fully compress the low ends. So it's nice and flat, and just touching up on the EQ, not too much. And there's a high pass on for, like, the intro. I take that high pass off, like, the second time it plays. So there's actual bass. You would hear the difference a lot more, like, on a better speaker. And then, obviously, just an LFO tool. You know, and then this is just here to do some frequency sweeps, like at the end here. Right. You know, simple. And then I'm layering in this other thing. For some reason, this is routing to some other track, which has some more processing on it. I don't know what the purpose of this is yet. I think it's like, you know, for the later sections or something. But I know that it's ever so slightly changing the sound. Just a little bit of bass going into a clipper, you know, to give it more crunch, and then some more EQ on top of that. But whatever. Insert GIF of fish being poured into Rice Krispie treats. Right. But this layer here, just, you know, some saws. I don't think it's that complicated. It's 2 octaves and a fifth apart, you know, 2 super saws, some distortion. That's the whole sound, you know, just some touch-ups on top of that, you know. The EQ, and the thing responsible for the filter sweep at the end. Right, simple. And now we add in something else that made the whole track go rounds. Oh, that's loud. Very fun. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's literally just, for some reason, the randoms turned up. Are you serious? Yeah, it's like way better. That's more consistent. What the fuck? What was I thinking? Fem, I think your chat's frozen. Is it frozen on stream? Because I can see it just fine. Not the overlay, but the one you read from? No? No, I can see you. I'm just not responding to every single fucking thing you say, because I don't have to. And I don't think most of what you say is funny enough for me to stop in the middle of my sentence. It's a breakdown stream. I got something to actually talk about. If I was looking for something to, like, distract me, then maybe I'd engage with equa. But, you know. So, this has a deceivingly large amount of processing for what is essentially just a clean saw. super fun, very bouncy. But for some reason I felt the need to bypass it, run it through a nonlinear filter, and then bring the high end back. Make it louder with these two things. LFO tool the panning. And then take that and then put that through a delay which is being a delay which is being ping-ponged. Which is where you get that left center, right center sort of sounds. And this filter with a lot of resonance on it, which is why this shit sounds so loud when it's coming up. And volume. Balance to cut it out when I want it to shut the fuck up. And this is for later. Right. And then some other pretty nice sound that I felt sounded nice in this section starts playing. Ow. The fucking iOS 17 alarm thing. It's pretty nice. I have to pan it slightly left for it to be in the center, but whatever. You know, just makes a nice little 4 on the floor sort of groove. I compressed the hell out of it. Well, I guess I had to, because it sounds like pretty quiet coming in. And, you know, EQ out what was annoying, and keep the rest. Then distort it, and then LFO tool it the opposite way of the, I guess the lead, but it's not in the lead. Low-key just a cowbell. You're high. Put a bit more crunch on it before making it a little louder. Yeah, just a cowbell. Then EQ it. For some reason I chose that. Couldn't tell you why. And this is responsible for the filter at the end. You know. Sick. You know. And then this was just kind of in my head as I was building the project up. Like, it very quickly started to sound like something, which is, you know, honestly, fewer and farther between these days. It takes a bit for me to have enough sounds down for me to be like, okay, well, now I know where I want this to go. But this was like, I think I just had this acapella stuck in my head for a while, because the song that I got it from, like, yeah, this is a Chainsmokers song, but there is a Shipwreck remix of it that was pretty popular in, like, the mid to late 2010s for, like, in, like, I swear it was probably used in, like, some, like, Vine sports compilations or, you know, shit like that. Or maybe it was more, like, into Instagram's dominant. The timelines are a little blurry, but I do remember just hearing the song a lot, and it's kind of childhood for me, right? So the acapella just kind of sticks around. And I just heard that fill in my head as everything else is playing. It just kind of makes sense. Oh my god, somebody recognizes the name Shipwreck? Thank fuck. I feel like I've been delusional for the past 1 million streams I've mentioned it. But yes, it's the Shipwreck remix of this song that I personally remember, because I used to listen to Hella Shipwreck when I was playing Agario on my uncle's computer on vacation through the speakers. Quite the fun time. And it fits the vibe beautifully. It creates the vibe. It makes it a lot more, like, cutesy. It's nice. Hold on. Where's the scroll bar? Here's the scroll bar. I gotta make sure this thing is on, because this is responsible for keeping it quieter during the intro. I've been back on my Gario shit. I I've rarely played like main Agario. I've only ever really played like insta-merge servers. Watched Serious, Dandy, and Ghosts today. So sad. That's actually fire. I had a friend who was in TYT. It's pretty cool. Hello. Is it Nashi? Is that how you pronounce that? I always forget, just because I used to know someone named that. And I don't want to conflate. A grind on paper yellow key? Good for you. And then sound effects, right? Cashmere white noise and this fucking thing that I made a while ago. Only really vaguely being EQ'd. No, the white noise isn't even touched, but just being vaguely EQ'd because really don't need that much. And then just a little sweep before, you know. And it's party time, is what it is. And that's basically everything aside from the swell, which leads us into the next part. What is cat time? Whatever. This is just a render of one of the piano notes with a lot of reverb on it. I don't think it's anything special. Hello, Fembrio. Yeah, what's up, Shizzy? You already know. And that leads us beautifully into here, which starts off with one of my patented beautiful pianos trademark. Just because whenever I find the opportunity, I gotta hit it. I gotta hit him with a... Amazing. Right, so let's... Where is that? There it is. I remember making this in the library and just absolutely cocked the fuck in. It was, you know, I tend to do this thing with my melodies, like piano stuff or just keys in general, where I will, like, make a groove with the lower half and do some syncopation with the top. You know, usually it's not like this complex sounding. It's usually just one thing is playing, like the lower half would be playing like half the time at the as the upper half, but this time it was like a whole. Oh shit. You know. So like the bass is kind of doing its own thing, and like when the chords are being held, I'm mimicking like a pedal being held. So it's like kind of natural, but not at all, because playing this would be impossible. I feel like I just did a pacifist route in Undertale. Awesome. I just got flashbanged. Was that File Explorer? What? Was what File Explorer? I have no idea what you're talking about. But what's it called? Oh, this thing. Oh yeah, that's just all the instruments and sound stuff. But, and then the top half is kind of doing its own thing. Or, let me just... It's the same exact progression, like, the whole time. It's just what it's playing over changes, and when the notes are being sustained changes because of the chord beneath it. So it kind of changes the feel of them, which is something I like doing all the time, where the chord beneath a certain melody just kind of, you know, shifts around it. And the chords that I choose, because I'm always doing the same like 4 or 5 chords ever, tend to make the tend to harmonize with the progression above, and just shift how your brain feels about it. Does do a barrel roll work in your browser? What? Awesome. So it all loops together all nicely, aside from this, like, not aside from, but like, I think there's a slight variation at the end. When you Google, oh, it's a Google trick. Okay, yes. Probably. Mullvad isn't a daily driver. It's also just Firefox. So if it works in Firefox, then yes, but I don't know. I don't really care. I know that when you used to Google a jar, everything would be slightly skewed. No, when you used to Google a skew, everything would be slightly tilted. Or slightly askew. Be funny. There's a couple of other ones. I used to watch Lemino. Come on. What's it called? And then the processing to really give it its character. So light compression. I tend to put Google used to be so cool. Yeah, remember Don't Be Evil? Remember 301? Not quite actually. I always put the curve on 3 just because I feel like it sounds the best. It does change the way the compression behaves, which is nice. It took me a while to realize that it actually mattered, but like once I started, oh, the 301 view count thing. Oh, of course I do. What do you mean? It was a feature of the website. But it does tend to change the way the compression sounds. I think 3 is nicer for getting things to sound snappier when paired with, enough attack and release. Is curve the knee? No, the curve is the curve. The knee makes it curve more. No, curve is the curve. And there are 8 options apparently. But I just stick with 3. This is necessary to make keys sound nice. Now, I'm using Yamaha Grand Piano with a custom preset that I have made, because if you turn the release knob all the way down, it starts popping. It's really annoying. So I have to use a preset that's not quite like no release, but it's no release enough. But also, I gotta make it crispier, right? Like, it works. And look, the only reason why I use Keyzone is because I never really needed to use anything else that like super like detailed. Like I can make Keyzone sound kind of how I want to in most cases. And Keyzone's nice and quantized, and I do have some Labs pianos available to me for other purposes. But like for the most part, Keyzone gets the job done, Sounding digital enough but natural enough to be right where I want it to be, because I'm kind of doing a bit of both in my arrangement. So like, whatever. You need the 5K Grand Piano VST. After I just got done saying I don't really use any other pianos because I don't need to. I appreciate the suggestion though. A slight decrease here, I guess I thought was necessary. Labs was really nice before they made you like kind of pay for everything and fucking change the whole UI and like it runs off the internet or something. I have the old version, and I obviously refuse to update because you got me fucked up if you think I'm doing that shit. But they completely just modernized the hell out of the UI. To be fair, the UI was already pretty modern and like not very modular to begin with, but they made it worse. Just fucking annoying. And I think they like made old sounds turn from free to paywalled, but that could be just a rumor. And I'm stacking 2 delays on this because I'm a nerd. One delay is like I'm pretty sure it's dotted eighth notes, or just 3. Mainly high-end stuff, and then one every quarter note. It's like a cascading sort of delay sound. And then some reverb. And some mid-side to bring everything nice and even in the stereo. Get it all circular and junk. And it sounds super nice. And then, since we're going left to right, top down, the next thing that comes in, well, aside from the iOS thing fading in again, is this little Reese. Awesome. Now, there's barely any portamento, but it's just enough for, like, the, you know, just a little bit of glide, just enough. Now, this Reese, they're normally not that tryhard, but by this point in the project, I realized, like, oh, this is gonna be a serious one, you know. So I'm just like, it's serious up until I can stop taking myself seriously, which the second half is evident of that. But, you know, for now, when I'm building the vibe, I want it to be convincing, right? And so I used, what's it called? I mean, there's barely any processing on it, really, which is surprising because it sounds crazy, but it's not that crazy. And the only reason why it sounds crazy, it's because of this little guy right here, Hypersquare. Now, this was like, I came across some random tutorial for Serum, like, oh, this is a crazy wavetable to have, and I forgot completely how to make it, but it's out there somewhere. It's, I guess it's called the Hypersquare, and it's like, there are so many, like, sweet spots in this for growls, but I also just figured I'll slap it on as, like, a crazy wavetable for the Reese. And since it's squarish, it has those, like, odd harmonics, you know, that are typically known as squarey, which are nice. And most of the work is being done by this French low pass, you know. A lot of whatever these knobs are doing, mainly drive and the cutoff of the particular, like, it's right here. And whatever this says is in the middle, I guess. And then I EQ'd it a very specific way. Because Reese's aren't, like, meant to be, like, super subby. They're not even meant to, like, serve the purpose that, like, I use them for in general. But, you know, I'm all fucking EDM pilled, so it's like, whatever, right? But yeah, just a kind of really surgical, what the fuck am I doing sort of EQ to, like, get it sounding nice and fat, but not super intrusive, and it just, you know, creates a nice bed of sound for everything to rest on. And then I'm just automating in the iOS thing. It's mixed exactly as it was before. Super dry. And this thing right here. It's key zone if you hold the notes. Because for some reason, key zone doesn't let go. It'll just play the notes forever. And then I realized this when I was, like, just holding a chord down that sounded really nice. And now I have this audio file that I play sometimes as, like, a transition. And, you know, it's pretty useful. Sick. Right? I don't think there's any other, like, automation going on other than... No, what is this load passing? I guess this was in here. I at some point, but I just kind of figured let's not do that, you know. There's already a lot going on in the riser department. I don't know why I go up and turn that on when I'm gonna fucking solo this shit anyway. But that's some like automation to make things quieter up until the drops hit. But also makes the drops a little quieter too. It's confusing. I'll get into it later. But this section, right? The first thing to really make an audible appearance that means anything is the acapella. Not this chop, it's barely audible. It's fun. Right, so it basically starts with this original. I'm gonna get claimed so hard. You know, it's already processed enough, but, you know, when I'm doing my processing, I always like to just bring things up to volume and make them a little louder, because it's hyperflip, right? So we're doing just a little bit of single band compression. Never mind, I guess we're doing a lot of single band compression. Jesus Christ. Okay, we squashed the hell out of this one. Compressing the highs. And bit crushing them. Just slightly, just for a bit of crunch in the sibilants. And EQ plus de-essing. Awesome. Make it a little louder. And this is a surprise mouse tool for later. You should do another beat challenge thing. I hate doing those. But maybe, like, in the fucking future, because I have this stream, then the next stream, and then the next 3 streams are breakdowns, and then I have to finish the song. You know? I like making music on stream more than doing the challenges, just because, like, a lot of them don't go well enough to make videos, and they're kind of fun, you know what I mean? But, like, for the effort that I go to put them on, they just, I don't know. It's a whole thing. And then it's going into a channel that has more bit crushing on it. And then a delay with the built-in ducking for the reverb. It's very crude, but it gets the job done, right? And now this harmony. I did this with a spectral harmonizer, and I rendered it out as soon as I fucking completed it, because, like, that shit would take up a lot of latency and also just processing power on my computer. But it's this thing again, where, like, I put the vocal through here, and I only took the wet of that, which would be the harmonized signal, and, you know, just, like, manually pitch bended the notes to like, kind of match. You know, like the things like the sibilants and all the stuff in between, it does sound robotic, but, like, you combine it with the original, then it's like... all the information is being taken care of by the main vocal anyway, and just the note information plays from the other one. And so it's like, you know, your ears don't really mind. And then for this, there's not too much processing, just, I mean, like, it literally sounds like GLaDOS without the main. Wow. Good for you, man. This is being compressed super hard. And like a bunch of shit's being added to it. So just a lot of single band. Just squashing the hell out of it. And then increasing the highs, bit crushing it. I think it's basically the exact same patch as the other one, with different EQ. And put it through the same sort of ducking. Cool. Super nice sounding. And then I have like a reverb swell coming in. Standard stuff. Very standard transition stuff. I guess this is on a different track. It is. Awesome. And then that's when this acapella starts to rear its head around and, filter itself in, which is essentially just the I Need You chop from the beginning of the song with some like LFO tools and stuff on it. And just a bit more chopping at the ends. Where is the... it's very dynamic in the ears, or whatever, right? So... when it's fading in, there's like this little... transgate plus gross beat thing happening to like make it sound choppier, and then like it's taken off when it's on here, and then just process the shit out of it. I guess I just didn't bother EQing it or de-essing it for some reason, but I do compress it like I do compress most other sounds. And bit crush it as well. And this thing is set a little bit louder than the other instances of this preset, but, a bit more distortion. LFO tool. And I am aware the sample is popping, but I guess I just said, fuck it, we ball. And then some ping pong delay. Going the opposite way just came from. EQing the wet signal, and I guess I flipped the polarity of the wet signal as well, because I don't know, I felt like I needed to. Does it even make a difference? Barely, if any at all. Whatever. EQ. Popping pans left to right hard. How's your CPU not exploding? I don't know. It's a trooper. It's a lot going on. And then for this part, I have two of the sort of instrumental sections of this Inside Out song. Yeah, that's in the same channel too, because I was fucking lazy as hell. This vocal sample was nice because it's kind of like naturally led into. You know, it just kind of ended up taking this long to happen, and then when it got to here, it had the pre-drop vocal I wanted. I'm just like, okay, this is perfect. You know, but that completes the vocals. And by this point, I guess we're gonna have to like go from the bottom up. The only thing new about this section is this sort of synth thing, which, hold on, let me fucking turn this shit on. Because it's kind of getting ridiculous. It's just some fucking supersaws. It's not that complicated, I think. Yeah, just two things that are on top of each other. Volume automation, a little bit of release, you know. Nothing serious. Compression, for some reason I felt like 4 sounded the best. I don't know. I just rotate around the numbers of the curve at a whim. But like, you know, it's informed. Like I want it to sound like snappy and, you know, all poppy and stuff and yada yada. Put the delay on dotted eighths or on the number 3, and then EQ the wets, and then compress the wet signal. For some reason, I just felt like it. Distortion, more distortion, make up for the loss in high ends. And then this is like filters it in. This gets rid of a lot of the annoying stuff, and that's that layer for the most part. Sick. And I think I'm layering in this thing. And we can finally talk about these fucking drums. I know you're happy, 2 Mouse Party. Da 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 da. Super cool. So really quickly, let me just take the makeup off real quick. This is what the VST sounds like at most hours of the day. And the VST that I chose is a Contact 7 library, but it is free. It is free. Just because I wanted to use free drums that wasn't fucking MT Power drum kit. And I came across Drumica, which is a software that allows you to... it's broken. What the fuck? Okay, whatever. Allows you to switch the mics of the drums and, you know, get a different character sort of sound. And you can also change the way, like, the room in which it sits, the EQ of each drum, the... why is it, like, fucking breaking? Oh, it's because it's on Smart Disable, isn't it? Change the way the transient hits, change the way the compressor built-in works on these drums. You can't change, like, the tuning of the drums themselves, though. If you want, like, a higher tuned snare, you would have to open up a separate instance. But yeah. So... I don't know when I started using Drumica, like, in my hyperflip songs. I don't know if I started on an alt account or if I started on breadcore, or like if I just, like, you know, booted this up one day and I'm like, oh, I could do something with this. I don't know, but I started using it a lot more and, like, getting used to how to process drums to get them up to volume. And a big part of it is honestly just compression. and like let these clicky parts really clip into the master, which kind of gives it its punch, you know. And also the compression just makes the room sound roomier and all like fat and, you know, all this sort of stuff, right? So that's mainly it. And then, you know, a little increase on the bass, the kick primarily. You know, a little distortion. Not much, you can barely tell. And this EQ is making the important stuff loud. The cymbals, the snare, the kick, you know, and then there's a balance on here for when I need to shut it the fuck up. And the drum pattern itself, it's very, very, very simple. I think there are no dynamics at all. Everything is max velocity for the most part. Except for like, when I need to do something like here, where the second snare is obviously going to be quieter. And then, you know, the Sotark's 1-2s. Little flam in there. It's very evident if you play drums, you can tell I play guitar. Is all I'll say. But like, you know, it serves its purpose. Oops. It serves its purpose, which is all you can really ask for, right? And I just have the white noise from the intro and the laser thing from the intro reversed, acting as the build-up. Awesome. Something else to note, the acapella is panning the opposite way to the lead as well, so they're always like kind of flip-flopping which ear they're on. Wait, no, hold on. I've got to turn the shits on. I wish they had the foresight to come up with subgroups. Sounds nice and wide and decorated, but also, you know, not like super throws you off. It's just cool sounding. And then we can finally get to the drop, which is the automation clip turned on for this? No, it's for the second half. So I guess I'll mention what this automation clip is doing since it's going to come into effect. Trust me, its sauce is essentially just the limiter on the full saturation with a gain increase on top of it. So it makes quieter things louder and like, you know, more saturated, but if you're doing something that's like inherently super loud, it can make it quieter, but that's some weird shit. I've been using FPC's rock kits and then trying to get effects to make it sound realistic, which is such a hassle. Yeah, I used to do that before I used MT Power Drum Kit, and honestly, MT Power Drum Kit sounds a little worse, because at least with the FPC's rock kits, you can just kind of, you know, change up, like, they don't sound as iconic, you know? I feel like MT Power Drum Kit sounds so much like itself that you can recognize instantly when someone's used it, but I don't know. That's just me and, like, my history as a producer, but that little patch or preset on the master is what's responsible for like the sudden jump in volume when the drop stops faking out and actually like plays. Which we'll get to. Section by section, top down. So we're gonna go just all this fake out real quick, you know. So that leads us to talking about the fakey flow, because I made a song on an alt accounts, which was like one of the laziest tracks I've ever made, but also one of the coolest soundings, which kind of just had this flow. That's it, you know. I just did that, but twice as long, essentially, and I'm like, oh, I want to do some growl fills for this. I wanted to make the drop more growl based, but the key that I chose, this key isn't really that good for growls. It's fucking B. It's pretty low. It's not good for like sound systems. But I didn't want to change the key of the whole song and, you know, make other parts sound more unpleasant, and, you know, it just kind of served the purpose. But this is a one of these basses. Have you used addictive drums? And if so, how good is it? I think... Wait, have I? I don't think so. No, but I've seen people use it. I don't know. I'd give it a whirl and just decide for yourself. Just most people who like key in drums are less experienced than me somehow. Like it's the meme where like, oh yeah, the guitarist obviously fucking midied these drums in, you know. But then there's some people who like don't really play instruments like at all. So like, you know, the way their drums sound are just like, it's even more awkward. So I don't know. Just like pay attention to more drum parts when you listen to them. I haven't been able to find a link that's not a redirect bundled with other shit. Oh boy. So I have this wavetable, which is, you know, just for fat subs and yeah, during Pride Month. Just bass and noise really, and you know, this Maximus and an EQ. Why? No, dude, there's a whole patch. Oh, it's because it is the fake. No, it's not. I can't count. That's it, you know, a little LFO on the course pitch to give it that attack. But yeah. Oh my god, it's Ethan Gamer 37. Normally it is kind of squarey, but you know, the EQ evens it out. Which is nice. And that's just the whole sub bass I'm using for the entire drop. And then, you know, there's the one growl fill. Which like I made kind of a newer Viagra specifically for this. I don't know if it was like from scratch or something like that, or like kind of from scratch, but like I know that I wanted to try out this stereo method, which was before I started really working on. Well, I got it from that last project that I was working on, if you remember from last week. But like that project I was working on passively, like in the background of this EP for like so long that like I just kind of developed a lot of techniques over time and would bring it to these songs wherever I see fits. Like 2 hours ago, I got 3 people commenting on my video. Ethan, I love you. It's your influence. But I wanted to try out this, you know, chorus method of stereo widening something. So this growl itself, it's just, you know, good old classic fucking serum with massive wavetables and the built-in scream filter. Well, I guess this one is the hyper square that I was talking about. But this is like something that I would use OTT for. I tend to put the sub on with direct output so that it gets affected by the distortion that I add later. But for these growls I chose specifically fucking what's it called? Diode distortion, French low pass, and an OTT to bring the volume up to like a reasonable level. You know, it's just, so it even resembles a growl like at all. And I think I'm just moving the cutoff and like slightly changing the wavetable position for the second one. And for the first one, it is more of the same, but like bend plus minus. And I have the scream position to like match the notes that they're trying to hit. And I think I used this fill later on in the drop somewhere. Is it here? Oh no, it's a different version of it. But that's basically that. And then it goes through all this shit to make it, you know, all nice and growly and wide and distorted and bassy and this and that and the third. So it's you know, let's go through it step by step. This is a breakdown. We're gonna do that. So first I put in a lot of bass and fucking distort the shit out of it, you know, just the absolute living hell out of it. Put it through a clipper and just you know, that's where you get that super bassy sound from. And then I put it through the stereo method Just makes it wider, and then I just make it a little louder before I put it into what I believe is a mid side, where the mid has a polarity flipper on it. Because otherwise it would sound like it's kind of behind you. I don't know. It wouldn't be as upfront as I'd like it to be. But it doesn't affect the levels of the stereo in the mid, right? But, you know, it's still nice and upfront in your face sort of deal. And then we add another EQ. Very slight, just taking out the 300, you know, keeping the crisp and all the bass intact. Then I put it through an OTT. Very minor, 17 depth. That's something that I would use OTT for. I know last stream I was talking about how I never use OTT. But this is the use case in which I would, because it's like, well, that's what it's for. I take the low end, then I squash the hell out of it, do a little bit of saturation of that, and then also saturate the output and put a bit more gain through it. And then whatever the hell this is. And this is the rest of the character of the sound, where I have an all-pass phase. You know, giving it a bit of laseriness, some more modern flavor, and then I make it slightly louder with these two things. And then I take that, and then I EQ it slightly to make it more upfront and crispier. And then I put that through a clipper just to, you know, clip things. And then I put this bitch on saturated, and then bring back the high end. You know, so that like as opposed to being like kind of unnecessarily crispy, which sounds kind of nice, it's now just a bit more dialed in, you know, just nice and distorted with some character to it. Add a bit more high end back because I felt like it wasn't enough, you know, which is still less than. It's just it's shaped now. They redid the Addictive Drums 2 UI. Oh boy. And then this is for, I guess, cutting below 20 hertz. That's like a year ago. Oh. Damn. Guess you missed it. And that's that first growl fill. That processing is basically, I think all the growls are coming through this channel anyway. 116 off bass. No, I hate this bass. Oh, I can growl. I remember, like, I had to figure out a fill, but, like, the realization in which, like, oh, wait, I can just growl. It hit me like a truck, and I'm like, oh, wait, I can just do that instead. And, you know, it turned out to be a pretty good decision, I think. And then good old fembread super saw stacks with the bass beneath it, which is half the magic, but without it, you know. Layered with some stuff on it. So this is more like what my super saws tend to sound like, as opposed to the track before where it was less super saw focused. What's the most interesting sample that you found while making this? I didn't find this one, but I forget who suggested it. I know someone from the stream suggested that I use Flexion and Finesse from Speaker Knockers, which I wasn't listening to before. You know, that's the most interesting sample that I think I found. Well, that I think came from this project. I didn't find it. It was suggested to me, and I'm like, oh wait, this is actually like a genius idea when I went to listen to it. But back to the task in hand, right? So the super saws. It's a very weird process that I have, but it's just 2 serums, right? That's all you really need. Serum numero uno is just your average super saw. It's your average super saw. 2 oscillators stacked on top of each other, no OTT. This is just in the preset for some reason. I don't ever sampled Punk Tactics. Not me. Sounds cool. And then, what's it called? just a shit ton of EQ, specifically targeting the low mids, the messier parts, and the high end. Like the most like dissonant part, essentially. And then that gets put through Clipper. And then that gets put through another Clipper and another EQ to make things just crispier at the ends. And this Clipper is also interacting with serum numero 2. Where is it? 2 oscillators on top of each other, the random turned all the way down, and the phase adjusted to get this specific character. And EQing essentially the exact opposite of the other sound. And then they come together to make a nice and fat sort of hi Biggie Boy, hi fembread. It's all nice and wide and very distorted. And there is a peak controller here, which is the surprise mouse tool that will come in handy later. And then I layer on the Donkey Kong Country shit on this hoe. I will say that, I don't even talk about the chords, really. Because for me, I just kind of understand that, like, alright, that's the 5th, and I'm just gonna do... I just know those notes are gonna be there. Just because I've been doing this shit for so long that it's like, at a certain point you can up or extend to your heart's content. And I tend to avoid doing the octave or repeating notes that are already there unless I want the chord to sound a specific way, And the cheat code to making the chord progression, like, it's just taking this bottom 5th and moving it up an octave, And then it's the same exact chord with a different bass note under it. Except I moved this up an octave, the 5th. And then whatever the 5th of this chord, but it's actually the major 7th of this, and then it becomes whatever that is, and then whatever that is, fucking yada yada, rada rada. Is it good if I got 100 views in 10 minutes? Yeah. Wait, no, on TikTok, I have no idea. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't use that app. But yes, very simple stuff. And then I layer on the Donkey Kong. Which, sticks around for the entire drop. It's just another, like, stringy sort of sounding layer. Just one of those essential must-have samples if you're producing in the 2010s. Compression. More compression. This time it's kind of affecting the low end just a little bit. But mainly the high ends, and then we big crush it. Awesome. And then we EQ it and put it through a de-esser just because the de-esser does a pretty good job at just cutting out stuff that's generally annoying. And it's being made louder by this and EQ'd by this. Otherwise, it sounds like... I've completely fallen off, haven't we all? Leave a like on the stream if you think I haven't fallen off. Would be nice. Went from an average of 1k views per video to like 50 now. Lol. I'm praying for you. Also, get the fuck off of TikTok. That shit's American spyware. Like, what are you, fake woke? Like, what's happening? But whatever. Don't let me police your decisions. I just wish people at large would realize that your usage of a service is generally your condoning of their acts. I don't use TikTok. Oh, my fault, gang. Where that was just the topic, and you didn't mention like, oh, it was reels or shorts or something, which I think have different view metrics. Let's do shorts. I see. I also average 1k a short, which is not very good. So But imagine going to the from the millies to the hundos. Yeah. Whatever. And I layer the saw thing in again because why not? It's the whole MO. Bass comes in and plays nicely with these chords. Which is kind of the whole shtick, really. Is in hyperflip. That's kind of the whole sound. You can do that like with sidechain distortion, or you can just clip it all into the master, which is what I did. Oh wait, this is not set properly. You know, have some squares in here. Simple, because I listened to a lot of Retro Ride growing up. That's basically it. This thing's back on, making it sound choppier. I like that little 2-note harsh bass part there. Oh, yeah. It's a nice fill. And then I fucking fill in one of my favorite fills of all time. X-Gen Studios. If you have played any X-Gen games growing up, that'll hit you like a ton of bricks. But most people, if not everyone in this, who's ever been in this stream, does not recognize that sound like instantly. If you played Stick RPG 2, it'll come from there. Or if you played Territory War, or if you played Stick Arena Ballistic, or, you know, some of those other games like that on that website. Or mainly they were found on Addicting Games, but I wanted to play more and like actually save my progress on some of these games, and so I went to this website itself, and like that was, you know, me on the early internet. Not really early internet, it was like 2012 by then, so, you know, shit was already in full swing by the time I got around, but whatever. It's still a sample I use all the time just because it sounds super nice. You know. And then I start doing this chop, which I stole from the Shipwreck remix of this song. It's not one for one, and I do a little creative liberty. Normally it'd be more like, you know, but now it's different. That's like the Vanilla Ice, like dun 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 dun, like the one note difference to make it like legally distinct. But whatever. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about. Why is Grindr doing Pride Month? I know, right? It's so weird. Fucking rainbow capitalism much? Like, shit. And I got really lazy with how I was gonna fucking, you know, do the turnarounds. But like, ice, ice, baby. Remember we used to have the lyrics remembered and would sing it constantly when I was like 5. That's fire. That's fire. I just, for some reason, thought, okay, punch sound. And, you know. And then it's drop time. So that first half first. It's all fills. It's all fill game. It's all fill game. Which makes it all sound interesting. You know, like the drums on their own are not that, let's say, eventful. But like it's just crazy drum sounds. Who in the fuck is texting me? Oh, never mind. Somebody reposting my track on SoundCloud. Let's go. I don't even know what the fuck, why I went with this snare, but I did go with this snare, and I didn't EQ it or process it at all. But whatever. And then I changed snares. Yes. What is DC offset? See this 20 hertz mark? Anything below that, you know, because lower frequencies are longer, and these are so long that essentially paints, as opposed to where's my cursor? I can't see. Imagine this as your zero crossing, right? A normal waveform would be like this, you know, but if it had if it had like DC offset, it would be like that at its most extreme. And a lot of people do like purposeful like DC transitions, because like sometimes it'll like take whatever sound you have and just kind of do this to it, and then kind of like that, which sounds like some weird sort of gating effects, but like it's happening across all frequencies or whatever. But yeah, that's DC, you know. And so removing DC offset on like something like a sound, if the sound is overall not that centered, it will try to center it for you. There's also a plugin, Fruity Center, which attempts to do the same thing, but a lot of the time you would probably find yourself using something like oh shit, wait, never mind. Something like mutility, which has a DC blocker, which is basically just a filter that's better than like you know, your fucking EQ2 at getting rid of those like DC frequencies. But normally you'd be doing that like in the mix, and you wouldn't save that for like a band-aid solution on the master. But remember, I've only heard of DC also being used for like impact or something in snares. It's like a short little clip in the track. You could. I don't. That's like, if you're trying to nuke a sound system, maybe, but most people, you know, most people make this music as like headphone music, right? So it's not really like their main concern. Right. But yeah, the drums are not that eventful, really. It's more all that's happening around it that makes it all cool. Now the thing with these growls is that for the most part they're like all different, and like all like bespoke, like for the purpose of like, this is the one like little 16th thing that plays, and it's just basic shapes, scream, bend plus minus, you know, just kind of taking the preset that's already set, like with the French low pass, the diode, and the compressor, the preset that I've already made earlier, and I just clone it and change just a few things about it, like the wavetable, the way the filter interacts. Streams have been going for like an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm trying to go fast, but it's an extensive track, this one. Slight change in waveform for this one, and you know, sort of the same deal, except I'm doing a lot less filter automation. Like, I have this turned off to like let it, you know, fully play out, because otherwise it would be like, right, it's a different kind of sound. It is a little low for my liking, I will say. I wish it wasn't as low, but you know. And then there's this thing, which is another 2 separate growls, which this is, you know. I think this is, I can't tell where this wavetable came from. Connector. Where did this come from? I want to know. Oh, it was a Cymatics Outbreak wavetable, I think. No, I can't read. Yes, it is. Right here. And just moving around the scream knob for where I want the resonance to really hit at, and yada yada. It's the same channel as the growls from earlier. And then I really don't know how I got that. What the fuck, dude? Why? Oh, I guess DigiGrain 1 is how I got that sort of almost like a bit crush sort of sound. I got lucky, really, with the wavetable I chose. You know, 16th, and then this one is some other fucking Jaws wavetable, I think. One of these two, but it's a cymatics. You know, only slight movement in the bend plus minus department and like adjusting the drive and the cutoff. Which for a lot of growls I don't really do. Like for the second one in the... It's max drive, because max distortion. Pretty simple. And it's bass and super saw. Again, I don't know why it's going into this fucking channel, but like whatever. You know, pretty standard stuff. And then this is just the Donkey Kong thing again. Awesome. And now we're starting to get into the fills, which there's this one that I like using, that I've only ever used like twice. Just a good old square arp, barely processed. Or never mind. I guess it is processed. Saturation, bring the high end back, bring the high end back again. Sick, because of course I have to do that fucking bullshit. And then I'm layering it with the Where Are You Now? Acapella. You know, and like I just kind of heard sticky keys in my head, because I think it's like literally it's in key. So I'm like, alright, well, it just works. And this exhaust, I'm doing this nerd shit where, hold on. This nerd shit where whenever the saws play, the exhaust plays. It's like a little noise layer. And it still fades out, but you can barely tell. It just kind of like blends into the mix, and that's what this P controller is for. It's controlling the level of this. Perfect. Wait, is the sticky key sample that long yet to make it two separate things? No, it's that short. I have to make it two separate things. What's it called? And that's basically that. And then I do this little sort of deal with a balance that is being affected by, I think, the same P controller. Just kind of blends into the mix. I used to do this. I did this at first on like Planet of the Fembread a fucking while ago, when I had less swag, and I just kind of have been doing it ever since. Whenever I can, whenever I feel like it fits, and it fits here. You know, and I think this is. Oh, I wish it was fully dry, but of course it's more complicated than that. You know. Can you shut the fuck? On your filter, and bring the high end back in. Reverb and compression after the reverb to make the reverb sound even louder and feel like it's ringing out for longer. And then the balance. And this is when Nina Jirachi actually makes the appearance. As like now I'm like, okay, it's so evidently like this is the song that I was ripping off, honestly, for this intro. You know, that's the song I was ripping off. But I gotta actually sample it now because it sounds cool. Awesome. Let's go top down again. Drums first. I switched to a kick clap pattern, but I made, I guess I wanted to use the how to basic clap. That is how to basic. You can barely hear that. Fucking, whatever the hell noise he makes. It's amazing. It's perfect. You know, it starts off with, I don't know why there's a balance here. I forgot if I made this for like a sample challenge or I just wanted to sample how to basic. No idea, but like I just have it. Transient shaper, obviously, you know, to give it more attack, and then convolver, which really gives it that like room. And then I could have like compressed it from here, but I guess I just figured it sounded fine with the kick clap because it does sound pretty sick. There's the Eminem fucking kick with the Twerk Nation shits that I use all the time. Awesome. Proof that anything can be sampled. Essentially, yes. And then I do another one of these default FL drum tom sounds, but like with a lot of processing on it. So like, step one, I put in my Serum Effects stereo preset for some reason. Doesn't really do much. And I don't do anything with that besides just distort the shit out of it with like the wave shaper noise gate method, which yields a very crackly result. That's why when I play the whole thing it sounds like that, like it tapers off, because it's like it's cutting it at the waveform level. And then a fucking sound geyser, because of course, and then an OTT, because of course. You can see there's like a bit of like little DC happening at the end, and then some distortion, and then some EQ. Simple. And then the melee snare section, which is just some melee sounds. I don't know, I forget what it's actually for, but all I know is that I thought it had too much high end, so just tame it a little bit. And then there's this thing, which is just really cool sounding anyway, as like a sort of almost like a record scratch. And it's not normally, I guess I remember it sounding different than this, but whatever. I guess it's because it's like clipping pretty hard. And I also just distort the shit out of this and then EQ the shit out of that. Sounds pretty cool. Hello, Fembrio. Simple. And then for this part, I decide to, you know, fill less and let the groove just simply play out. I also automate in something for this, which makes it significantly louder than it was before. Very filthy, you know, just a lot of wave shaping, saturation, distortion, and an EQ afterwards. You know, I wish I could just like disable and enable these a lot easier than having to drag the fucking line on, but whatever, right? That's like most of the sound right there, and then some more crunch at the top ends. Some even more crunch, and bring the high end back. Awesome. An egregious cut around like 300 to 400 just to make things feel subbier and, you know, not take up that much room. And all that extra room is being taken up by vocals and an octagon hit marker. You know, so the only new addition in the vocal department is this Nina Geraci one, really, which kind of makes everything sound way crazier. Is there like a gunshot? It's not a gunshot. Do you know about the Fin Twins show? I don't. Where it's like the main chop in the song, but I just pitched it up an octave and, you know, did my thing with it. You know, a lot of processing to bring it up to volume. Single band compression, very strong, and then multi-band as well. Big crushing, and then EQ de-essing. You know, it's so goated on TikTok. Thought you didn't use TikTok. Or you just don't post on there, right? Okay. You just give your data to the app instead. Yeah. Alright, Transcape, slightly mixed in. EQing out what's egregiously annoying. Some more saturation, bring the high end back. I absorb pure knowledge and hand over all my data to Larry Ellison, is what I'm reading. And, Game and Sauce. Yes, love it. It's funnier if they're Chinese, because at least it's not like, it's like foreign intelligence, and I respect that country more as a country. Legislation alone, but they've also done some bad shit. Give all my data to Big Yahi. Yeah, man. Look, they don't have the cleanest record, alright? And that's not what I'm saying. But you think America does? Like, come on. Let's be real here. And this is being layered on top of the Skrillex one. I just don't even care where my data goes anymore, which is exactly what they want you to think. They want you to be apathetic towards it all. They want you to not care and just be like, eh, fuck it, take it all. You already have so much of it anyway. You know, there's nothing I can do anymore. That's the goal. They've succeeded. You know what I mean? It's crazy vocal layer. And then I'm also adding in, I'm falling for they are spelled incorrectly propaganda. Yeah. And then I have this other melee sounds. Sorry, I'm tired. It's okay. It's just the wrong there is always crazy, tired or not. This is some other melee sound. No, this is a Undertale sound, which is for some reason panned to the right ear. But whatever. A lot of distortion, the same method that I put in the toms. You know, this sort of wave shaper gates, sound geyser, a lot of bass, which gives it that distortion that I'm looking for. A lot of big crushing, distortion again. You know, it's so fucking. Surely this has a crazy amount of like, yeah, that's that blows up a speaker. And then some OTT. And then that's what plays before the tom fill. And just as a precaution of groove to make it sound cooler, the octagon hit marker. Basically an all pass phase octagon, but it's basically an all pass phase hit marker, but I put it through 8 OTTs to get it to sound like that. All at 0 depth, just 8 OTTs. And we're finally here. Finally here. After a pretty simple bass sub drop sort of deal, Chief Keef just kind of makes his appearance, and it's welcome with open arms. And I'll do some shit here. Biting Skrillex's flow, really. If you think about it. Very, very simple jerk beats. Very, very simple jerk beats. Except the 808 plays too early. We can barely notice it. You know, very, very simple. Nothing crazy there. But what's crazy is I'm doing a little bit of sidechain distortion. Now I chose... I think I tried doing the... what's it called? The peak controller method for this, but it didn't yield the result I wanted because peak controllers aren't that nice. And so I had to instead do it the old-fashioned way of actually sidechaining it to the track and then having... a limiter with no... Well, not really limiter. It's on compression mode, but a limiter, like the plugin, with no attack or release or anything to make it sound like it's clipping. And I first put that over the saws. Yeah. Which are different saws to the ones in the drop. Same sort of like pretty dissonant chord, and I'm just increasing the octave of the lowest note because the way that I made the chord makes it so that when I do that, you know, it makes a good enough chord. It's fine. Like I don't have to think too hard about it. You know, but this is it's sort of the same exact deal, but just a quieter version, kind of. And then I put it through with the actual beats, and it sounds like why is it not playing? Oh, it's because you know what I mean? I wish you could hear it without having to actually play this. Oh, you can. Wait, never mind. I'm just... Like with all good sidechain distortions, you can pretty much hear the notes in the saw. And that's the goal. And I did make it slightly longer on this part. Oh, where is it? There. This part. Than like the first half for like a different groove, because you know you're kind of hearing like a, you know, that's kind of the whole goal, right? And I also put that on Kevin G hyperflip. I also put that on some vocals as well, just one vocal layer. I think it is. I can just find it. It's right here. Some crazy shit. Just think, super nuts, super nuts. So this is, some chop I made that I got really lazy. I'm just like, let me just make a chop that sounds okay. You know, whatever, it's fine. And I was, immediately when I made it, I'm like, this kind of sounds like shit, but I could probably salvage this, you know, and make it sound genuinely really cool. So step one, we compress it, and then step two, we compress it, is essentially what we start off with. Let me... Super compressed, super compressed. Bit crush. Slight amounts, again. Because why not? This is Someone Out of Town, which I don't know why I didn't sample as much as I feel like I would have. Because I love the sample. The vocal and the instrumental, they're both very good. And also, both Superslut and XXXTentacion have used this song before. I think it's really funny. Imagine personally hiring Kevin G to give you vocal chops. Yeah, imagine. And then I have this thing called Shaperbox at home because I don't have Shaperbox and I don't really feel like getting it. Although it is kind of useful. Like I've used it before on my friend's computer. It's just you know, I like getting in the weeds of the effects that I already have and seeing if I can make something with those. So the wet is, I mean the wet, the dry is that for some reason. The stereo is just going crazy. But the real interesting part is like the wet signal over time. It gets real nice, and I do a lower octave gross beat to start us off with, and then I do a transgate, classic, and then I put it through one of these. You know, nice. And then I bit crush that and EQ that, and then put that through an LFO tool. And I know now why I put this here is so that they can swap ears. Sounds nuts. And then another transgate to kind of clamp them together. Make them louder. And then the thing that makes it sound like it's clipping. I put that on. Oh. You get the idea. Pretty standard stuff. The only thing that I don't... I put a bunch of things. I put... okay, there are a lot of things that aren't going through this effect. This being one of them. And also this vocal. But most noteworthy, the thing not going through this is... Well, I mean, also, like, you know, all these effects down here. These fucking... You know, the classics. Yeah, that vocal part sounds fucking nice. Yeah, also flexing and finessing is not put through, but most notably, Chief Keef is coming through clean. You know, just barely processed, really. It's like a YouTube acapella. I've been looking for almost 2 hours now. I was busy getting stuff done. I had this in the background. Fire. I'm glad you found this okay to listen to. Bit the crusher. And EQ, just to basically make this shit loud as hell. And make it even louder. Trained ears type beat. Something along those lines, I guess. And then this is when flexing and finessing starts to make the appearance. Shouts out speaker knockers. And I got really lazy and could not think of a Phil for my life, so I just used Phil Collins. Or as I have it appropriately named, Phil Collins. I'm gonna use Bitches Love Sosa as a Phil one time per song now. Good luck keeping that up. Oh, I also have this little, you know, break in between things. Which I do all the time, sort of, where I'm like, you know, a crash right before, like a beat before it actually plays, but only for a half of that beat, and then... Because I've always thought it sounded sick. Not gonna last 2 songs. Who knows? It might last 3. But yeah, this fucking piece of shit. You know, I just distorted it and put it through a little compression, and that's all I did. You know, nothing fucking crazy. I got lazy. And from this point on in the song, I got pretty lazy, I will say. I just did like, you know, the expected thing is what I like to call it. But now we're flexing and finessing. Oh, I can't hear anything. Well, yeah, it's standard. So for this section, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be 4 on the floor. I'm gonna do a homemade buzz kick, but like not a buzz kick. I'll make my own. But the principle remains the same. I used a Mothership Lambo kick from Cymatics because, you know, I don't know. I think it was some like sort of Skrillex inspired kit from some year. And then I layered it with ponerlo encima de tu kick is what the thing says in Spanish. It just means put on top of your kick. And I don't know who this person is who made this kit, but they were cooking. And I did exactly that. I put a little bit of, you know, extra bass on, and then it makes a nice, you know, sort of you know, super cool. And this was the first time I think I've ever used... No, never mind. I thought it was a Cymatics for a second. No, it's a default open hat because, you know, I wanted to max out my default drum use because I figured that FL actually has some pretty decent default drum sounds. Those aren't triplets. Those are more like gallops. But I know what you mean. Or maybe you're just saying I love doing triplet kicks in general. Those are fun. But yeah, compression and just EQ this hoe to be more open hat-esque and less ride-esque. And the bass, it's pretty rudimentary. I think for me, because the principle of it is rudimentary. It's just, who the fuck calls them gallops? I don't call them gallops because I don't call them anything, because they're not triplets. Because triplets is like triplets. They're like in like, they're like da 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 da, you know, and 6 are like, I don't know, fucking whatever. But it's because like it's like da da da, you know, da 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 da. It's a gallop. I mean, at the end of a bar where 2 kicks would go doing like 3 in a weird time signature. I don't even think it's a weird time signature. I think a lot of people tend to be in the camp of, I don't know shit about music, I just make it. Which is fine, but, you know, I think if you want to talk to someone about music, knowing the basics definitely helps, I will say. It helps for the sake of communication, you know, which also furthers your understanding of what you already know. So, you know, being willfully ignorant for the sake of personality, which I know you're not doing, but some people do, why would you do that? What's it called? So, why you just sound like a fucking kick now? I hate when it does this shit. You know, the fucking bubble bass, where it's basically just, instead of the LFO starting at the beginning, you kind of move it over, so it makes it go, whew, you know. And for some reason, I decided I somehow never learned how to use keys fully for like samples and stuff. Well, comes with practice and intentional practice and time. Time only for practicing. You don't just like kind of passively get it. Producing since 2022, that's fine. I've been around instruments since I was 4, so I have a little bit of a leg up on you. So don't feel bad. I've been producing on FL since 2017. And like a year before that was Soundtrap and yada yada. You know, slight EQ, more distortion, More EQ. Blood overdrive. Shut the fuck up was a fruity balance. And another EQ. I'm getting tired of manually pitching samples until it sounds in key. Yeah. You can unlearn that if you just know what key the sample is in and what key you want it to do. What key you want it to be in. And you just do the single digit plus or minus and then, you know, figure it out. You know. And then this layer, which is only 5th and sus2. It's on the same channel as well. But this is like, how is it stereo? Where's that coming from? Oh, I guess it's in here. Yeah, there we go. There's like a stereo thing in here. And that's why the blood overdrive is there. There you go. That's that sample. It is crazy processing. It's also not really, because it's just a bunch of like very crude EQs and distortions, but the blood overdrive is what really completes it. And then you take advantage of what this has to provide, and you just kind of, you know, have your way with it. And then we do have a funk cowbell. I think, or maybe it's not even, it's just a serum patch. It's a serum patch. Oh my god. Is this like made from anything, or does it just happen to sound like that? I was going to layer it with a cowbell, I remember, but I ended up not finding the one. There is one that has the fundamental on the 5th slightly out of tune, which is most people use, and then there's one that has the fundamental on the 5th more perfectly in tune. And they're both default FL cowbells, and I cannot find the second one. It's like a little more deeper in the weeds. Probably find it right now on FPC bell. Maybe if I type in FPC bell, it just comes up. I doubt it though, because I have to type in cal for it to even want to entertain the idea of what the fuck. Oh yeah, I have a Ben Jordan FLP in this bitch, and it's not this. Hi, don't call me that. Sorry. I remember in 2023 I would make a very poorly mixed funk with the stock 808 cowbell that comes with FL. I mean, again, yeah, one of the stock 808 cowbells that come with FL are pretty good. It's not this one. It's not this one. It's not that one. It's fucking... I don't think it's that one either. It might be. If it loops back around to this fucking... the exact 808 one you just played. Yeah, I know. That's the first one you find, so everyone just uses that one. But even deeper in the pack, you can find one that's like more in tune, which is nice. But I couldn't find it. What am I making? This is a breakdown. But I couldn't find it, so I instead just used this serum patch, which I think is the exact same patch as this, but with a higher octave. And a slightly flat lower oscillator and a slightly sharp higher oscillator. Which gives it that funk cowbell sort of sound. But that's basically what it is, because the funk cowbell is slightly out of tune. And it just gives it all that character, you know. And then lots of processing. Lots of processing. Let me fucking undo that. Just make it louder. Put it on warm for the nonlinear filter as opposed to using another millionth saturated one. A lot of compression. More saturation. More EQ. Soundgleiser. And then I EQ it before I make it louder, and then I EQ it again. It's fucking harsh as hell. This is a breakdown of a song, song number 2 on my most recent EP that is in my description, if you're still here, Quasi, unless I scared you off. But, you know, it's for the hyperflip heads. You know what I mean? Sick. And then just for this part of the drums, I don't think it's anything crazy except for just more default FL drums. Oh yeah, I'm using that Eminem kick again. Thanks for properly pronouncing my user. If you think I can't read lead speak, you must think I'm under the age of 19. Which I'm not, and I can. Because I've been there. Also, people probably say Quasi, too. I should... Is it not Quasi? Like, crazy, but like ECW? Because I read Quasi. But is it Quasi? That would make more sense. That's more like Minecraft PvP-esque. Not like Quasimoto. Ah, interesting. I feel like Quasi would be a cooler pronunciation, actually. But whatever. You do you. V-dub ride, and just a bunch of other collider sounds. Very default FL stuff. What is this? Is this another... Yeah, another default FL clap. You know, nothing serious, nothing serious. And then I told you this section was lazy as shit, because it is. It's just flexing and finessing and some bass. And, you know, a little white noise. And then, you know, I just do a little bit of that, like, the one feedback delay, which is pretty common in my tracks, and just a lot of make it louderisms. So we got, you know, the super compressed single band compression into the multi-band compression. Oh. There's already like a decent amount of high ends. I guess I just didn't want to put in any more for some reason. I don't know. No bit crush, because I was going to do that later anyway for some reason. Ow. Bring the high end back in. And then put a de-esser on afterwards to keep the crispness, but still, you know, make the sibilance a little less harsh. Bit crush. Get rid of what's kind of annoying, and then saturate the shit out of it. And then kind of bring back what was annoying. I guess this was interacting too much with the clipper before I wanted to bring it back, and then, you know, make the loud part louder, and then make it even louder, and then EQ that after. Getting rid of some annoying stuff, making it fit more in the mix. I guess there's a grist beat here for some reason. I'm gonna assume... Oh yeah, that's for this part. Just to make it a little more articulate. You know, but whatever. And then I layer in the Nina Jirachi vocals again. But different this time. Because it's the housey section, so it's got to be all housey and yada yada, whatever, rada rada, this, that, the third. Nothing else fancy, just drums, bass, vocals. And of course, the hit marker has to come in. Oh, wait, yes, this actually has a little bit of more character, because without this stuff at the bottom, it's a little boring. you know, I could make this louder. Let me just hear really quickly how it would sound. That sound way cooler. God damn it. Well, live and learn, I guess, right? But whatever. So I have the 16th note, hit markers again, but I also have this thing. It's a nice, fun layer. This is like, you know, the Swag Machine 9000. If you want your stuff to sound cooler, you would put on something which is like, I'm pretty sure it's just me with a 3x oscillator and the notes that are just really, really high and in 16th notes, and that's what makes the whole sound. But to make it, you know, like fresh upon each loop, I'm slowly but surely shifting the frequency. You know what I mean? Isn't this the video where... No, I just told you how I made it. Is that the one hit marker noise that's spanned in CS montages? If you mean from Call of Duty, then yeah. And then it comes back in. I guess not. Oh, because wait, what? Sorry, I don't know where the noise is from. Call of Duty. Did I delete an automation clip? Because I swear it's supposed to be, like, playing again. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Yes, but no, it's not that. So, for the halftime section... Nothing new again, except we just bring in this thing. You know, and it's halftime, right? So the drums change groove a little bit. Melee snare 1. It's just some snare that already exists layered with a melee sound. And then there's my good old-fashioned short and sweet. And, you know, this fucking thing that I spam all the time because it's useful. Other than that, literally nothing changes about the song at all. Like, this is all the same. You know, I slightly automate this thing differently, as you heard earlier. But I'm adding in also this,
Kaboom.
Where the whole way that this sample sounds the way that it does, there cannot possibly be the need for that many tracks. I am literally breaking down the need for that many tracks. You know, the only reason why it's 90 and not 80 or 70 is because I did separate a lot of the drum samples that had no processing, because I didn't really know while I'm making it what's going to not have processing, what is going to have processing, so it just happens to be on its own track. But if I needed to consolidate because I'm running out, then I would put stuff on the same tracks, you know. But I didn't, so 97 it is, or 96. No, 97. But the reason this vocal sounds the way it does,
Kaboom.
like an official material, like this.
Kaboom.
I don't need the mixer I don't mean the mixer tracks. It's so I can find stuff, you know, one sound per track. Double click the track, it opens the sound, which focuses it in the mixer. You know, if it's a pattern clip, you double click, opens the pattern, and then you can open that thing which is focused on here. I don't know if opening the pattern clip also focuses it in the mixer. It does not. So you have to open it on the channel rack and then come into here and then focus on the mixer. Which, when you have something like, say, oh, I want to add an EQ to this, double click F9, EQ2, enter twice, on. I don't even think I need to hit F9. I think because it's already focused, you know, but it's my workflow. You know what I mean? And yeah, it makes things look less photogenic for releases. Other people's projects look crazier because everything's next to everything, and everything's on top of everything. But like, I like being able to find shit. You know. Anyway, as I was explaining about this sample,
Kaboom.
it's just playing. It's just the Haas effect where it's playing ever so slightly delayed on one ear than the other, and it kind of sounds like shit for the purpose of like actual stereo and like, you know, trying to time it. So I just took one ear,
Kaboom.
you know, just one ear's signal and made it both ears, and then I made that stereo, and then I mid-sided that, brought up the volume, sound godizer, made it louder, you know, sort of deal. And as for this fill, I'm pretty sure this is a sound that plays when you like first boot up the game of Melee, like, and you hit A, or it's a different one. I forget. No, it's absolutely not. That one's the start noise. It's different. I'm fucking tripping. It's some Melee sound. But, you know, just put it in there for the free ski. Did I even put it in a mixer channel, or did I like get lazy? No, I put it in a mixer channel. I put it in 97, where I started putting in all the bullshit. Otherwise there would actually be over 100 tracks. But yeah, everything's the same, and then it falls off a cliff. I just get really fucking lazy. I just cannot be fucked anymore. I'm like, oh, it's outro time. Dumbass loop from a dumbass pack that most people who first get into making Brazilian funk might possess, and then some other sound in that same ass pack. They're all in the same ass track, except for the 808, obviously. And we're doing, you know, we're getting very creative with the vocals. I say sarcastically, you know, but it's Brazilian funk. It's Brazilian funk. But you know, it's kind of authentic, I guess. You could tell I didn't give a fuck because of whatever the hell this is. And then we take it Dominican style. And we're getting really... Bro, listen to MC Marino if you want rough to that shit. I unironically listen to it. No, I mean, I've shopped around. You know, I just... Doing it in a hyperflip song is fucking... It's just hilarious. You know? It's just a played out trope. But no one does dembow, though. No one does dembow. Because ain't nobody really Dominican like that. That's my one edge. I did structure the vocal samples like you would if you were singing the chorus to a dembow song. And I just fucking, you know, generic ass. Awesome, like so good. I say sarcastically, it's just so fucking like, if you know, you know. Most people don't, so it's just an outro that drags on for too long, you know. But it's the outro. And it ends with shit. Ha. Ha. Get it? Because... Okay, I'm sorry. Is that one screeching sounds... Me elevo... What are you saying, bro? I'm Mexican as fuck. I just happen to have a lot of Dominican friends, and not every time I speak Spanish to the family, I use the slang and accent. I fucking love them, bro. Yeah, I mean, look, it's cool culture. I don't blame you. You know what I mean? I will say in this EP there is only one other thing in the entire project that is particularly Dominican, and it's when I made merengue. Where is it? Geez, what year is it EQ'd? Well, there's some. Oh, I clicked too fast. I'm sorry, Windows Media Player. You know, but I also did like whatever this is. But then. That's gonna be like next Thursday. I'll get to that project. Next Thursday, I'll get to that. It's like Oro Solido. I do kind of know. I'm not like tapped in. I just, you know, I'm around the family. You know, I hear all these sounds over the course of my whole life. You know what I mean? You know how it's like being Hispanic. Certain genres of music are just kind of inside of you in a cool way. You know, certain sounds, certain tropes, certain this, that, the third, and if you're a particularly musical person, even more so. But yeah, also Epic, you wanted me to check Gen like 2 years ago, and I still didn't, so I'm gonna do that. Is it all you wanted? You just wanted me to look at you dot magicking a photo of Baby the Burnt Peanut? That's what you demanded my attention for? Fucking Christ, dude. Alright. Well, that was the song. That was track number 2, otherwise known as Angel. Next will be, wait, next is gonna be Hookah. Oh god. I'll give you a fair warning. A lot of the distorted kicks I made in that song are lost to time. As in, like, how I did them. Like, I did a lot of rendering and then deleting of the mixer chain and then making a new mixer chain on top of that to, like, really get the distorted sort of kicks. Should I send it in Gen? Honestly, I don't care. But it's gonna be a fun one, because, you know, we're getting into the weeds of all this fucking... Oh, shit. You know what I mean? We're getting into some shit on Thursday. Now, like, if you want to stick around and tune in for that, it's at midnight. You can join the Discord server if you're not in it already to give yourself a role to be notified for these streams. Random question, but do you know how to make anything that sounds like Yabujin? Yabuhin, if you know who he is. I kind of vaguely have heard that name. The answer is probably not, but give me like 2 weeks, maybe. It's not my forte, though, I will say. Fucking... I sent it in Gen. Dude, why do you want me to click on this shit? Do you think I'm 14? It's loud. Oh my god. Watch me get a fucking ad. Also, I have my shit turned down. Oh, okay. Cool. Why they gotta do apple and onion like that? Whatever. I will see you on Thursday at midnight. Be there or be square. Because if you're square, you're not around.